Attar is my guide, Attar is my guide. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide. My Murshid has changed millions of lives. The prophetic Sunnah, he is revived. The leader of the Sunnis, he is our pride. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd. Fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah. Wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Noorallah. It is mentioned in the summary of a blessed hadith that the Prophet of mankind, the peace of our heart and mind, the most generous and kind, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, has stated, O people, indeed, the person to receive quick relief from the anxieties and accountability on the day of judgment will be the one who would have recited durood and salawat extensively upon me in this world. Subhanallah. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, welcome back to another episode of the Silsila Discourses of Attar. By the grace of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dam Barakatuhum al-Aliyah is proficient in and well acquainted with the sacred Islamic laws, guidelines of spirituality, tasawwuf, Sufism, and code of morals and ethics due to his immense passion for reading and constant interaction with prominent scholars. Besides reading many Islamic books and many Islamic books being authored by him, by several great and also prominent scholars, his zeal to read the scribe of Islamic law of Sharia, the guide of Tariqah, Mufti Muhammad Amjad Ali A'zami, Rahmatullah Ta'ala Ali, his prominent book, Bahar-e-Shariat, is indeed exceptional. Furthermore, he is keen in reading Imam Ahmad Raza Khan's remarkable verdicts, his collection Fatawa Razviya. He extensively reads Imam Muhammad Ghazali's book, especially Ihya al-Ulum, and also instructs his associates and disciples to do the same. Additionally, books authored by other eminent scholars are also being read by him. Furthermore, Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dam Barakatuhum al-Aliyah expertly elaborates and explains in plain terms complex topics like bearing patience, sabr, expressing gratitude, shukr, entrusting in the divine providence, tawakkul ala Allah, having contentment, qana'ah, having fear, khawf, adopting hope, rija, abstaining from lying, backbiting, avoiding malice, heedlessness, etc. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Master of Medina, the Comforter of the hearts, the Prophet of Rahmah, the Intercessor of the Ummah, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, said, when a person dies, his deeds come to an end, except for three things. That is, ongoing charity, sadaqah jariyah, knowledge which benefits others, or a pious offspring who makes dua for him. By the grace of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dam Barakatuhum al-Aliyah is amongst those scholars who have authored many books in addition to other righteous activities to reap the benefits of the actions listed in the above mentioned hadith. He is one of those distinguished authors amongst his contemporaries. When he starts writing on any subject, he finishes it with immense perfection. That is why the masses from every walk of life have been inspired by his books, and in turn they strive to inspire others to read them as well and distribute the literature authored by him in huge quantities. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ameer Ahl Sunnat, Dawam Barakatuhum al-Aliyah, many of his books, authored in his distinguished style, and his lectures, their transcripts and texts have been published till date. His most prominent endeavor is Faizan-e-Sunnat, which is world famous, the first volume of which contains the following chapters spread out over more than 1,500 pages. They contain Faizan-e-Bismillah, the blessings of Bismillah, Adab-e-Tu'am, Islamic manners of eating, Pet ka Kufle Madina, the excellence of hunger, and Faizan-e-Ramadan, the blessings of Ramadan. In addition to the above, he has also authored the following books and booklets: Laws of Salah, 28 words of profanity, I want to rectify myself, Test of the grave, heedlessness, devastations of music, Rafiqul Haramain, and much, much more. Inshallah ta'ala, in this silsila, Discourses of Attar, we will try to cover these rasail and others. Please be with us, join us whenever we are having this silsila and other silsilas of Madani Channel to experience these wonderful and very inspiring informations, authentic information, inshallah ta'ala. A unique characteristic of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Dawam Barakatuhum al-Aliyah's writing is that he places diacritical marks over words that are difficult to pronounce in order to aid the reader in correctly pronouncing these words. An Islamic brother was astonished when he counted the number of diacritical marks on the section subtitled Intentions that should be rendered whilst reading this book. In the book Faizan-e-Ramadan, he said that they were more than 378. This is for our benefit and our ease of pronunciation. By the grace of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, Ameer Ahl Sunnat's books have inspired countless individuals to repent, to make tawbah from their sins, and they have fostered a dramatic change in their lives. The Madani Revolution. A few glimpses can be read in the booklet titled Khush Naseeb Mia Biwi, Fortunate Spouses, published by Maktabatul Madina. The following are just two examples to elaborate the impact of Shaykh al-Tariqat Ameer Ahl Sunnat Dawam Barakatuhum al-Aliyah's writings. An Islamic brother from Babul Madina, Karachi, who keeps Ameer Ahl Sunnat's booklets with him to give to others, he has stated, an individual came to me to sell a mobile phone. He complained of having immense financial distress. Therefore, he wanted to sell his phone. Since he was so willing to sell it at such a cheap price, I refused to purchase this phone, thinking that he might have stolen it. However, I gifted him one of the booklets of Ameer Ahl Sunnat entitled I Want to Rectify Myself. After some time, I offered salah and I stopped over to visit a nearby mazar, shrine of a saint, a waliullah. I saw that the same person was sitting there with the booklet I had given him earlier. I approached him. I greeted him with salam and asked him about his health and welfare. He replied in a very low tone, I read the booklet you gave me and it has shaken me. I am restless and in an awkward state of mind. I was once an upright teenager, but due to bad and evil company, suhbah, I became abominable in the society. I got involved in theft. This mobile phone is also stolen. I am continuously receiving calls on this phone from its owner. He is also willing to pay me for returning it. I have been inspired by this booklet to change and abstain from a life full of sin. We were still conversing when the bell rang again, and this time, instead of ignoring the call, he asked me my name and address and instructed the owner to pick his mobile phone from my address. He also asked the owner to forgive him. And this change was inspired by this booklet. I want to rectify myself. He handed the mobile phone to me, and I witnessed with my own eyes this young man change for the better by the blessings of His Excellency Ameer Ahle Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah and his inspiration and writings. Another beautiful incident. An Islamic brother from Tahsil Tanda, UP, Hind, he reported, I was a non-Muslim. I received a booklet of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah entitled Respect of a Muslim, and I was astonished by the information that it contained. I realized that the religion I have always hated and resented, that is Islam, professes peace and harmony. I was touched by the words in this book, and the love of Islam intensified in my heart. One day, I was traveling via a bus, and a Madani qafila, adorned in the Madani attire, came on board this bus. I had a notion that these gentlemen were indeed Muslims, and thus I looked at them with admiration. One of the brothers from amongst them began reciting Naat Sharif, which is the praises of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. I found their rhythm, their style very appealing, and thus, with myself showing clear signs of interest, one of the brothers approached me and we started to converse with each other. He realized that I was a non-Muslim, and thus in a very courteous manner he urged me to embrace Islam. I was already captivated with Islam after reading the booklet, but his modest and humble approach was an added inspiration, and thus I could not refuse his request. By the grace of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, I have been a Muslim since 4 months now, and I regularly offer the 5 daily salah, and I intend to adorn my face with the beard. Furthermore, I am attached to the Madani Mahol and environment of Dawat-e-Islami and travel in the Madani qafilas. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Speeches, bayans, are an effective means to enjoin what is good and forbid that which is evil and wrong. By the grace of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah is from amongst that group of ulama and scholars whose lectures leave a lasting impression on the hearts of the Muslims. People flock in huge numbers to the universal, the international and non-political movement of Quran and Sunnah, Dawat-e-Islami's annual international ijtima' and other provincial congregations to benefit from his sermons, from his speeches, filled with wisdom and guidance. Hundreds of thousands of people listen to his speeches in these congregations at a time. In addition to physical attendance, his speeches are also relayed via telephone and streamed over the internet. Furthermore, his recorded speeches are produced on audio cassettes, CDs, DVDs, VCDs, and released by Maktabatul Madina, which is the publishing department of Dawat-e-Islami. They are also televised on Dawat-e-Islami's Madani Chanel. These are widely available and listened to in many circles, in homes, shops, universities, and such places. Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah is an excellent orator, and his speeches are so simple, his style is so sympathetic that it deeply impacts the listener and fosters a change within themselves. As a result, countless individuals have abandoned their sinful and disobedient ways, and now they tread on the path of righteousness, the path of Quran, of Sunnah. Here is an example to highlight this fact. A responsible Islamic brother of Babul Madinah, Karachi, has stated, a close and dear friend of mine was a drunkard, and he was a chronic gambler as well. He was very bold in committing sins openly. Although he was a resident of Babul Madinah, Karachi, he would occasionally travel to Colombo, Sri Lanka, and he had married a local woman there. Once I slipped an audio cassette of a bayan, a sermon of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah, entitled "The Pirate Who Prayed." I slipped this in his luggage before he left for Colombo. Upon arriving at Colombo, he listened to it, and the spiritual words of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah pierced his heart. He went through a righteous Madani transformation, a Madani revolution, and adorned his face with a beard and permanently made the Imam Sharif, the turban, part of his dress and attire. He has since engaged himself in performing the righteous Madani works of Dawat-e-Islami and has also become a murid, a disciple of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah, and became Attari. On the 10th of July 2003, he passed away after reciting the Kalima Sharif aloud. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Our beloved Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal states in the glorious Quran, Surah Rahman, verse 46, وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Translation from Kanzul Iman. But for him who fears to stand before his Rabb, there are two paradises. The great Sahabi, the companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, has narrated that the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wa alihi wasallam said, Allah Azza wa Jal says, I swear by my dignity and glory, I will not gather two states of fear, and nor will I gather two states of peace upon my abd, my servant and slave. If he remained fearless from me in the world, then on the day of judgment, on the day of resurrection, I will afflict him with fear. And if he remained fearful of me in the world, I will keep him in peace on the day of resurrection. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah had been fearful of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal since his early childhood. Once when Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah was still a child, his elder sister was displeased with him on some matter and told him that Allah Azza wa Jal would punish him for this. Despite being in his early childhood, he was filled with the fear of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal and became restless. As a result, he continued insisting that his sister take her words back and to also say that Allah Azza wa Jal will not punish you. It was when his elder sister said those words that he attained some peace of heart. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Once while involved in a literary research in the UAE, Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah came across the great Imam Ghazali Rahmatullah Ta'ala Alayhi's statement that death, maut, does not alter or change the aql, the intellect. Only the body and its parts change. Hence, the dead, those who have died, are just like the living. That is, they are sane, they are perceptive, they are aware of pleasure and pain, and the intellect is hidden, it cannot be seen. Although the body may rot, disintegrate, the intellect of the person still remains intact. Now upon reading these thought-provoking statements, Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhumul Aliyah went into a deep state of fikr-e-Madina, that is Madani contemplation for self-reformation. He was thinking that if the intellect remains intact, even after death, then what would happen during the funeral bath, the ghusl, and the burial? Pondering about what will come to pass when the senses are fully functioning, during the conversation, or rather the questioning by Munkar and Nakir, These are the names of two angels who will question the deceased in the qabr, in the grave. And the massive tests, the very, very important tests and tribulations of the qabr and grave itself. The impact of these thoughts was so profound that he went into a state of complete silence and was in the state of anxiety and worry due to being dominated by the khawf-e-khuda, fear of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. After a while, he spoke and said, due to this state, I have now understood how our pious predecessors, rahimahumullah ta'ala, they would continuously remain in a state of profound fear. Even though I sleep and eat, but it seems that all the pleasures have vanished. I don't relish anything now. It seems that I have been afflicted with some sort of grief. This is the reason why he has been often seen shedding tears. People will notice this, especially those who are fortunate to view Madani Channel. Often we will see Bapa Jan, Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dambarakatumul Aliyah weeping, supplicating, making dua, alone in the confines of his room. Two of his speeches, namely Allah Azza wa Jal's secret plan, Allah ki khufiya tadbir, and murde ki sadme, the shocks of the deceased, profoundly display his fear of Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. And we should also listen to this as well, inshallah ta'ala. The great companion, Sahabi, Sayyidina Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, has reported that Rahmatul lil Alameen, the mercy for the universes, the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, anyone from amongst you cannot be a true believer, a true mu'min, until I am more dearer to him than his father, his children, and all the people. This is narrated in Sahih Bukhari Sharif. Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dambarakatumul Aliyah's life is an embodiment of the following of the Sunnah because of his deep-rooted and profound love for the Makki Madani Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dambarakatumul Aliyah is therefore known as Ashiq-e Madina, the true lover of Medina, the one who is obedient to Madinah Sharif and the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. He has often been observed to be continuously shedding tears and at times become so restless in devotion to the Makki Madani Mustafa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam that the observer involuntarily begins to shed tears himself upon seeing such an outpour of love. His ecstatic condition is beyond words during the ijtima'at, the congregations of dhikr, that is remembering Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, and the Na'at Sharif, the poetry and praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dambarakatumul Aliyah sent the first invitation of his wedding to the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. That's right. Ameer Ahle Sunnat Dambarakatumul Aliyah, his invitation for his wedding, the first invitation was sent to Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. How this came to pass is that he handed an invitational letter to one Islamic brother who was going to the holy city of Madinah Sharif, Zadahullahu Sharafun wa Ta'azima, who read it out before the golden grill and at the sacred court of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Ameer Ahle Sunnat Damat Barakatumul Aliyah, later he commented, at the time of my nikah, I was longing and thinking as to when the exalted Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam will grace us with his blessed presence. It was the blessings of these unique and captivating thoughts that the wedding ceremony took place righteously, whereas people at large have been observed nowadays to infringe upon and violate the sacred Islamic laws during the nikah ceremony, the marriage ceremony. May Allah Azza wa Jal save us from this. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. After having been waited since a long time At last, Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah was awarded with the permission for the sacred visit to beautiful Medina. Zadahullahu sharafa wa ta'zima in 1400 Hijri. On this trip, his love for the exalted Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam was uplifted to a higher degree, with tears continuously rolling down his cheeks. Different people show their love in different ways, and the state of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah was such that when he was away from Medina Sharif, Zadahullahu sharafa wa ta'zima, he was filled with longing for Medina Sharif and often would weep. Now, when he was going to the holy city of Medina Sharif, Zadahullahu sharafa wa ta'zima, he was still restless and sobbing in anticipation. His distinctive manners are portrayed in many of his Naat Sharifs, his couplets and poetry in praise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As the time for his departure to Medina Sharif, Zadahullahu sharafa wa ta'zima, drew closer, the sentiments of Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah cannot be put into words. A large crowd came to see him off at Bab al-Madina, Karachi airport. As they surrounded him and began reciting Naat Sharif, poetry in praise of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, and the whole area was enchanted with the passionate recital of praises of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, there would be hardly any eye that was not weeping in tears in the love of Medina. And the atmosphere was truly phenomenal. The ardent follower of Medina, the lover of Medina, Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah, was himself in a phenomenal state. He, Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah, was a virtual picture of his beautiful couplets that he uses in love of Medina, in love of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Everybody may not be able to comprehend, to understand this unique exhibition of love and devotion, because normally those going to Medina Sharif, they are laughing, they are rejoicing. He has endeavored to make up a Madani mindset of these types of visitors, that, O tourists of Medina, you are joyously smiling only if you'd have brought a heart sobbing. Finally, Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah entered the gate of the airport in an abstracted condition. Some airport personnel respectfully escorted him to the plane, as they were inspired by his love for the exalted Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. As the destination grew closer, the intensity of his love became so abundant, and as soon as he, Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah, reached the holy city of Medina Sharif, he took off his shoes. He took off his shoes. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. He, Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah, is so engrossed in the love of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam that he himself, Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah, elaborates in his couplets. You are wearing shoes. This is the land of the beloved and blessed Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Wake up, my friend, wake up. Medina is here. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. The great companion, Sahabi, Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma, he has narrated that the Prophet of mankind, the peace of our heart and mind, the owner of Jannah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, addressed the city of Makkah Sharif, that what a pristine city you are, how dear you are to me. If my people would not have banished me, I would not have lived in any other city other than you. Subhanallah. Until Ameer Ahl Sunnat Damat Barakatuhum Al-Aliyah stayed in Makkah Sharif, he made many efforts not to place his back towards the direction of the holy Kaaba, and remained without shoes out of reverence for the holy city of Makkah Sharif. the manner in which he made tawaf, that is the circumambulation of the Kaaba, professed extreme devotion. His body was constricted, his face bowed down, and tears rolling down his blessed cheeks. Even the observers would be brought to tears, touched by watching these signs of humility and his intense love. The companion, Sahabi Sayyidina Anas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu has stated, upon seeing the walls, the buildings of Medina, when returning back from a journey, the noble Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wa alihi wasallam would speed up his conveyance. If he was riding on an animal, he would give it his heel out of love for quickly returning to Medina. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Dear Islamic brothers, dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, keep watching Madani Channel. Don't go anywhere. As much as you can, join us inshallah ta'ala on the different silsilas that are there on Madani Channel for your benefit, for my benefit, where we can receive authentic information and Islamic education and ilm and knowledge. Join us next time inshallah ta'ala for more on the Discourses of Attar.
Attar is my guide, Attar is my guide. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide. My Murshid has changed millions of lives. The prophetic Sunnah, he is revived. The leader of the Sunnis, he is our pride. By the grace of Allah, Attar is my guide.